welcome back to the podcast. And yes, I'm just calling it the podcast because we're still workshopping a new name. You guys might know we used to be called Lab Rats, but we decided to turn that into our Call of Duty YouTube channel name. It was just too perfect. So now we're workshopping a couple of new names like, Lab Talk, Lab Conversations, Lab Work, Lab Tests, stuff like that. Or maybe we just abandon the name Lab Blank altogether. So if you guys have any suggestions, let us know. But really, this is where we're kind of just talking about creativity. We're talking about the things that we're learning while building FilmLaab, kind of just the process of growing and the things that we're experiencing. So anyway, that's kind of what we talk about in general on this podcast. But today I wanted to talk about a topic that really is close to my heart, which is, figuring out how to stay motivated in such a competitive industry. I think there's a big comparison game going on. I think there's a lot of times where us creatives can experience burnout. Both creatives and entrepreneurs, honestly, can experience burnout. And I kind of just wanted to talk about some of the experiences that I've had, some of the things that I've been learning along the way. Now, I've been doing film or entrepreneurial things for over a decade now. And so I've learned lessons along the way. I've had times and periods where I experienced major creative burnout, where I started wondering, is being on this creative path or this journey worth it? I've had other times where, as an entrepreneur, I started looking longingly at an in-house position as a creative director or even just a videographer, and thinking about how nice and cushy would it be if all I had to do was focus on the art and I didn't have to focus on generating business. I didn't have to focus on, managing different employees or building a brand or all these different aspects of actually being an entrepreneur. And I just got to focus on the art form and collect a check every 2 weeks. Like, that sounds nice. And I think we've all experienced that to some degree or another. And so kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how we can stay motivated in this competitive market, in this competitive industry that we chose as filmmakers, designers, creatives, and creative entrepreneurs. So I apologize. I'm going to be looking down a little bit. I wrote some notes and kind of want to make sure I hit all of these things. So kind of came up with 5 points of how we can avoid creative burnout and how we can, succeed as creatives. So number one, I would say, is define your why and then revisit it often. So I think staying motivated really begins with a clear understanding for why you started this journey in the first place. A little bit of story about me. Why did I start FilmLaab? I was working an in-house job at a company called Route. I had a great experience there. Nothing but good things to say about the people that I worked with. But I was missing the entrepreneurial side of things. There were many times where I started stepping on toes. I started driving outside of my lane while working within this company because, I was an entrepreneur before. I didn't realize I wasn't dealing with different department heads or whatever. I was the beginning and the end between me and my team. There was a lot of cross collaboration. There was a lot of me just jumping into everything from finance to sales to how we're marketing ourselves to actually doing the creative work, everything from producing to shooting, directing, editing. And so with that, I was just used to getting my fingers in everything. Now, when I was in this highly structured environment, I was playing the role of director of content and media. I had like 8 different individuals on my team. It was a cool experience. I'm working with multi-million-dollar budgets. We're getting to travel all over the country, capture stories, highlight brand partners. It was really cool. But I kept finding myself longing for that freedom to build freely. And that's kind of what I've come to discover about myself as a creative. Not only do I like creating beautiful images and telling stories, but I find a lot of fulfillment in actually building my own story and finding and sharing my own path. And so building a company is a huge creative outlet for me because I'm able to figure out the brand. I'm able to share things with and build a community. I'm able to bring in friends and partners and individuals to work together on projects, collaborating with clients, writing scripts. There's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of ways that I can creatively express myself within the actual process of building a company. So I had to make a decision. Do I stay making multiple 6 figures with this very highly visible, highly sought after job? with a lot of upside, both in stocks as well as salary? Or do I take the leap? Do I take the risk of jumping all in on building this video production company called FilmLaab? And how would I kind of be different? Defining that, figuring that out was the fun part of the process for me. So I left and I started FilmLaab for those very reasons. I wanted creative freedom. I wanted to tell the stories and basically work with whoever I wanted to. And honestly, I felt like I could bring a new, fresh perspective to the industry. You know, we're in an industry where there's a lot of people who are focused solely on ROI, you know, ads that convert, thumb stopping content. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have people who just want whatever they make to be their own expression of the art inside of them. They want everything to be their own personal passion project. And I found myself somewhere in the middle where I realized that the art I needed to make was something that could connect human to human. That's something that would be exciting or inspiring or influence them to do something. And it needed to ultimately convert. It needed to work for the brands who are hiring us. Otherwise, they wouldn't hire me again. So being able to have this perspective of starting my own brand and my own company, production company, then going in-house for a multi-billion-dollar company and being able to see what their needs were. Now being able to come out here, I had this fresh perspective for let's make stuff that actually works. And guess what? We can still make cool things and enjoy our process along the way. So I'm getting a little long-winded, but really kind of wanted to highlight that during the times of FilmLaab that have been hard, and there have been many difficult times that you guys have probably heard on previous podcasts, and you're going to hear in future episodes with me. The hard times don't stop, but in between all of those moments, there are good times. But during those difficult times where we aren't able to collect money, where a client doesn't enjoy or like the creative process or the product that we're pushing out, and those moments where you start questioning, am I doing the right thing? Why did I even go down this path? Going back and revisiting your why and remembering what brought you to start doing this in the first place is so important. To be able to remotivate yourself and to bring your perspective back to that same paradigm you were in when you started this is so important. And I've had to do that many, many times. And I believe that me being able to kind of hold on to that why and remember what drove me to build FilmLaab in the first place has helped me be able to endure some of the difficulties that I've had while building this with both my partner, Mike, with my brothers, with my best friends, with this incredible crew that we've built. There have been a lot of difficult times, and remembering that and finding that why has been important, not only for me, but for my business partner, for my brothers, for the crew, for everybody here at FilmLaab. They also have their personal whys. And I've actually found that it's my responsibility to help them remember their why and help them ultimately work towards achieving that why. So anyway, step number one, piece number one is remember your why and revisit it often. And if you do that, it's going to help you avoid burnout. All right. Number two is celebrate the small wins. I really think it matters because in the competitive industry and in the creative industry, when we put something out, it's immediately getting buried by 15 other projects or things that we need to get done. We have an endless task list. We have endless amounts of content that are pushed out on all these different platforms. And it's very easy to kind of get caught up in doing the next thing, when really sometimes it helps to slow down and to take a moment to appreciate what you've accomplished and what you have just done, those small wins. Trust me, if you're able to stack these small wins and build up this pool of evidence for why what you're doing is working and it's bringing you fulfillment, again, you're going to be able to weather the difficult storms out there. You're going to be able to say, well, remember X, Y, and Z reasons and things that have just happened as to why this is making sense. So that's really, really important. Some of the small wins that we've celebrated at FilmLaab are, getting a server, having fast internet and Wi-Fi, having a team that enjoys being together. We have these milestone moments or activities or experiences where we're like, yeah, I love being with these people. This is what I'm talking about. completing projects. When we complete some of these big projects, we take a moment to sit down and watch the piece together. We clap for and cheer on the person who edited it, the people who shot it, the producers, the directors. We take a moment to kind of highlight it. And maybe we don't do it as formally as we could, but we do try to take a moment to celebrate those wins, to pat them on the back. That's been really, really big. Moving on, I think like tracking your progress can help you really stay positive, because over time you're able to see the difference, right? They say the same thing when you're working out. If you're tracking your weight that you start at when you start exercising, you might see it fluctuate, and over the course of a week or two, it might not be that significant, but over the course of 6 months, over the course of a year, you're going to be able to look back and be like, wow, that was 40 pounds ago. And I'm actually speaking from experience. In March 2023, I was 230 pounds, guys. I started watching what I ate. I started exercising more consistently. I started going on runs, and here I am, away 191 pounds. I've almost lost 40 pounds, and it's making such a huge difference in my life. But I think if I wasn't tracking those small wins, if I wasn't reflecting on those things, then I wouldn't be able to look back and truly see the progress, and that's helped me stick with it. And I think it's the same thing as creative entrepreneurs. Celebrate the small wins along the way, track your progress, and you're going to be motivated to weather the tough storms. Tip number 3 is focus on what makes you unique. Now, the comparison game is so real. And I want you guys to know that I find myself stuck in comparison all the time, because I am comparing myself to the top 1% of creatives in the world, right? I'm looking at the best directors like Solomon Lighthelm, Christopher Nolan. We've all done that. And many other commercial and film directors. And I look at them and I say, wow, their ability to tell stories, their ability to go deep, their ability to think abstract and differently, the way they're able to pull together these incredible sets or these ideas. I can never do that. When it's just, frankly, it's not a fair comparison. Comparing a project that I have to pull off for $20K, $50K, $100K, even $100,000. It's crazy how far that doesn't go. And comparing that to an $80 million film that Christopher Nolan does, like Oppenheimer, right? With Cillian Murphy, some of the best actors in the world, incredible set design. He is able to have the perfect DP. They have months and months to shoot, to edit, to pull together this piece. It's just frankly not a fair comparison. Yet, interestingly enough, we make those comparisons all the time. And so what I'm really trying to do is, again, focus on what's making me unique. Yes, I can look at and appreciate great commercial director like Solomon Lighthelm, but understand that, he's on another level. He's been in this game longer than I have, and I can take inspiration from him. I can aspire to be more like him and learn lessons from him. But really, I need to focus on what helps me stand out, what makes me different. Now, I've had to look at that and say, I think I'm actually just a really good problem solver. I don't think I'm overly creative. I don't think I have any unique edge on anybody, but I do think I have an ability to think on the spot, to be able to solve problems and to see them before they happen. And as I've leaned into what makes me uniquely good, I'm able to be more successful. And I've been able to tap into that, where I've been able to solve problems with clients on set, help ease their concerns and their worries. I've been able to help make other crew members successful in their roles. And so altogether, this production is able to come together smoothly. The client's able to be happy. It accomplishes what we need to. And if I'd spent all my time just trying to be something that I'm not, then I probably would have missed out on leaning into what my true talents and my true skills are. If you guys have ever heard of StrengthsFinder, the concept is all around, if you focus on pouring all of your energy and your efforts and your time into the things that you're naturally gifted at, you're probably going to be able to go 10 times further than if you're constantly working on boistering up and strengthening and fixing all of your weaknesses. Yes, I think there's a place for that. I think there's a place for, continually improving and bettering yourself. But if you're able to be self-aware enough at, hey, this is what I'm just naturally leaning toward and what I'm naturally good at, and you pour all your time, energy, and effort into that, you're really removing so many areas of restriction that are maybe holding you back from truly succeeding. So as I've done that, I've been able to be successful. And I've had to look at, as a production company, what is it that makes us unique? It's probably not that we have the best editors in the world or the best DPs or directors, or we have the biggest budgets or the coolest, most perfect clients, although I love who we work with. It's probably the fact that we enjoy what we do. We have a good time on set. We focus on the relationships with our clients and do our best to help these campaigns and these things that we're making be successful. We like to invest in our community. You know, those of you who are listening right now, we have a YouTube channel, we do events, we do things like that. Like, those are the things that make us unique. And while, yes, I think there are probably a dozen other production companies that come to your mind right now that are maybe more gifted or talented than us, there probably aren't many who are investing in and focusing on their community and connecting as much as we are. And I think that's one of our competitive advantages. So take the time to identify what makes you unique, what helps you stand out. Yes, take inspiration from others who you look up to, you aspire to be like, but focus on what makes you different and unique. Focus on your strengths, invest in those, and it's going to help you avoid creative burnout because you are avoiding things that create drag on your momentum. All right, now tip number 4 is kind of an obvious one, and I won't talk about it too long, but I think it needs to be noted, is surround yourself with positive individuals. I can't tell you how much I have experienced burnout, how I've felt and dealt with depression, or I've experienced frustration or dissatisfaction with what I'm doing, than when I'm hanging out with and spending time with and listening to individuals who are negative. Individuals who have a glass half full perspective. Sure, they might be right. I saw this reel the other day that says pessimists may be right, but the optimists are the ones who will be successful, and the optimists are the one who will be rich. Something like that. And I think that's so true. Yeah, if I'm hanging out with pessimists and individuals, they can nitpick, they can look at this, and they're probably right. But I would prefer to be around people who have their head in the clouds, who are hopelessly optimistic and positive, who believe that the universe, that God, that the world is conspiring for their success. As they believe that and they talk about that, they work towards that themselves. They're not putting up barriers or roadblocks or negativity in their way. They're just paving a path forward. And as I've surrounded myself with more positive people who believe in the mission and what we're building here at FilmLaab, who believe that I can get healthy and get better, who encourage me as a husband, as a father, who know that I can spiritually grow and develop. As I surround myself with those types of people, I just become better. The inverse is also true. When I'm spending time with people who are more negative, then I find myself much more restricted. I find that momentum is harder to achieve and to gain. So best piece of advice I can give is if there are people who are negative, who are dragging you down, who tell you you can't accomplish something, or even just constantly talk about how they can't accomplish or will never be able to amount to what they want to, you can still love them. You can still be there for them. But the best thing you can do is create a little space and go on to be optimistic and wildly successful. So take this as your call to action. Surround yourself with positive people. Last tip, number 5 is, and this is cliche, but enjoy and embrace the journey versus just the destination. It's interesting how I've set these certain goals and milestones in my life. When I shoot for Nike, I will feel like I've accomplished everything. Guess what? I shot for Jordan, not exactly Nike, and I still realize how much further there is to go. Yes, I shot an event for them, but maybe there's larger campaigns or opportunities that I want to pursue. Often I set these goals or these things and say, I will be happy when, I will be fulfilled when, and then I get there and realize there's entirely new planes and arenas that I want to go into. It's a whole new game at that level, and now I have seen that there are levels to this game, and I have so far to go. And so as I've looked at that, or I've set milestones, like when our company makes $1 million, then I'll feel like I'm being successful. Well, we hit that, and I realize, okay, now we just have a higher payroll. Now we just have to work with clients who are going to ask for more, demand more, expect more from us at this level. Okay, I need to continue to grow and pursue new things. And so I've had to let go of what the outcome in my mind needs to be. I used to base so much of my happiness, my fulfillment on the outcome. And really now I'm just trying to enjoy the journey and enjoy the process, because ultimately the real outcome and the real piece of fulfillment is at the end of my life, I'm going to be able to look back and say, I pursued things that brought me joy. I was able to give jobs and opportunities to other creatives, to my friends, to my family, to individuals that I care about, that helped them be creative and help them feel fulfilled and pay for their lives and their families. I was able to provide for my own family and able to just experience and build a beautiful life. Like, that's the ultimate dream and the ultimate outcome that we're all looking for. But going less deep than that, I think just taking the time to just be proud of where you're at, to enjoy, again, the small wins, to enjoy that journey is the best part about being a creative. Let yourself sit in the childlike wonder of what you've been able to accomplish, about where you are, about how the world works, about storytelling, about creativity. Don't let it lead you to be dissatisfied about where you're not. Let it bring gratitude and excitement for where you've been and where you are. And then bring hope for where you can be one day. So not super like tactical advice, but it's something that I feel like is really important. Again, little bit cliche, but cannot be overstated. So yeah, to kind of wrap this whole thing up, I hope that this is something that you guys can take, you can add to your arsenal. Again, I think these 5 points, they're just some of the things that I wrote down that come off the top of my head, but there are many more tactics and strategies that you can do. But we chose a very competitive market, doing creative. And guess what? It's about to get a little more crowded because we've got AI, we've got a lot of competition, we have a lot of things that we need to learn and ways we need to grow and develop, but that's okay. Practicing some of these things, expressing gratitude, surrounding yourself with positive people, celebrating small wins along the way, all of these things are really just going to help you along your way to enjoying what you're doing and enjoying the process. Because at the end of the day, we are so lucky that for our jobs, we get to be creative. We get to build the things that we want to, and we get to do it around and among people that we enjoy. So that's my message for you today. Those are some of the things that I have learned and some of the nuggets that I think have been so important for me these last 3.5 years with building FilmLaab. Would love to hear more from you guys. I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next episode.